Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto Will is your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. In fact, I just got cut in some videos doing. Oh my God, there's so much happening, and choosing what I'm going to use is difficult. But you know what? I am trying to do. Look, reporting this Israel-Palestine stuff, which I won't do at KPFT because it's difficult as hell to do. I have to really self-monitor what I do. I even have to monitor here, but not as much as I have to do at KPFT. And when I say monitor, I don't mean that they've restricted me from doing anything. What I mean is that in order to have the conversation, you have to be able to have the conversation where people are listening and not just putting up guardrails and presenting the information in a manner that to go through most people guardrails. You're not going to get around everybody's guardrails, but you will get through enough of them to actually have the conversation. It's difficult. Yes, it's stressful, but it is something that I think if we are to move forward as a society, it is something we have to do. We have to get the truth out there, etc., etc., etc. Egberto sounds like a chilling effect of your own making. Yes, it is a chilling effect of my own making because I want to be an effective communicator. What I mean by that is being right is not enough. Telling the truth is not enough. What you have to be able to do is tell the truth in a manner that folks will be listening and not just ready to come back with the fight. So it's not a. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm assuming you're responding to what I'm saying here. Sounds like a chilling effect of your own making. But no, you have to be, in order for folks to listen, you have to make it that people will listen. Anyway, E2247, welcome to Politics Done Right. Eric Hayes, welcome to Politics Done Right. Michael Rutnin, welcome to Politics Done Right. Lee Grant, welcome to Politics Done Right. We also have Bridge MCP, welcome to Politics Done Right. We have Paravet, Mademoiselle Peggy Lopez is in the house. We also have our beautiful Yvette Avery Herod in the house. Did I miss anybody? I don't think I did. Okay, Peggy says, Egberto, thank you for taking the time out of your show to talk to me yesterday. I slept great last night for the first time in a few days. Thank you. That touches me. And by the way, you didn't call my show. You called our show. This show is for everybody, and everybody. In fact, I would love for people to just keep calling more and more and more and more. Okay? It's your show, and I mean that. That's from the depths of my heart. All right, Bridge wants me to put something on the screen. Are you going to get me in trouble for putting this on the screen? Nope. I love this one. I love this. Bridge, I love it if I can just get it on the screen. The real enemy is hate. The real enemy is hate. I love this. But the only way we can get there is if we have the truth on all sides, right? If we have the truth on all sides, that's the only way we can get there. And we don't get the truth on all sides by having folks, by not being able to communicate. You remember that part? We must have a way to communicate. Let me see. I need to get a few things tied up here on the videos that I don't have ready yet. So here is a professor from Rutgers. That one is up. That's an 8-minute clip. I also have another clip from Reverend Al Sharpton and where he revealed an interesting thing that I think you all are going to find interesting. And where is that other clip? Oh my God, did I miss that clip with Fox News? I wanted to get you a clip that I have with Fox News. What's today's? It seems like I got it placed in the wrong place. Okay, I'll look for that a little bit later, but I really wanted to get that clip in as well. Let me search one last place to see if that's where we placed it. Videos, there are the videos. My stream 04, could that be it? I don't think that's it, but that's the only one that I'm seeing here. All right. I tell you what, I'll look for that after I start playing the other one. Anyway, continuing, I see it's par for the course that the U.S., instead of being an adult in the room, has once again reduced itself to being a cheerleader and coat holder for one side, enabling and supporting Israel escalation of violence. Peggy Lopez, thank you for those statement. The other statement that was from E2247. E2247 says it's shocking the State Department deleted 2 of its initial statements calling for restraint and protection of civilians, changing them to statements offering Israel full support. I would love to see the original text. I saw that, but I never got a copy of the original Twitter statement at all. So if you can find that, let me have it. Please do. Please do. All right, we have Michael Ronan says true, but you are going to see over the next few days that hate is a powerful motivator. Yes, it is a powerful motivator. E2247 says after the dust settle and tears dry, other than having dead thousands to mourn and bury, we'll be right back to where we were when it started. Shame. Unfortunately, unless we start having more people willing to challenge the status quo, that will be the truth. Let's see what else we have here. Eric Hayes says, how about the new billionaire pay their fair share in California? Gavin Newsom is tax hungry. The powerful frenzy continued in Wednesday as numbers were drawn for the $1.73 billion jackpot. Is that what the jackpot is up to? $1.73 billion? Wow. The winning number drawn for the jackpot were 22, 24, 40, 52, 64, and red Powerball 10. The power play was 2. One ticket had all the numbers. It was sold in Fraser Park, California, which is located between LA and Bakersfield. Oh, wow. So you see, I don't even know that. I don't keep in touch with that kind of stuff. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Let's see what else we've got here. E224 says your calls and emails really are being heard by our legislative representatives. Here are committee links. Thank you for that. Michael says no bravery. Say what you mean. It's what conservatives are supposed to do. It's what conservatives are supposed to do. What are we talking about? I said our. You read your. Oh, okay. My bad, Peggy Lopez. My bad. You know, I'm reading fast. Sometimes you know how that goes. All right. What else we got here? Michael Ronan said, WTF is Eric on about? It's like he's laughing at an Inside the Bubble show with no context. Okay, let's see what else. Lee Grant says RFK's branded, no labels, is politically and propagandistically brilliant. I don't think it's brilliant. I think he has a problem, but we can talk about that some other time. All right, Tom C says Netanyahu. Oh, say you. Oh, this I got to read this right because this is one of his limericks. So let me get his limericks right. All right, this is Tom C's limerick. Ready for it? All right, it goes like this. Netanyahu, oh say can you see? Revenge warfare is just total insanity. With an eye for an eye, many innocents will die. Jews, Arabs, and all of us share a common humanity. I love it. I love the insanity with humanity. Let's do it again. Netanyahu. Oops, let's do it again. Netanyahu. Oh, say you can see. Revenge warfare is just total insanity. With an eye for an eye, many innocents will die. Jews, Arabs, and all of us share a common humanity. You're good at this stuff, man. You're good at this stuff. All right. Bridge MCP says Egberto Willis on Saturday, before the conflict was escalated, Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan to discuss a solution. Blinken then shared a statement on X, formerly Twitter, saying he encouraged Turkey's advocacy for a ceasefire and to release of all the hostages by Hamas immediately. He quickly deleted the post and replaced it with a statement that said only, Israel has the right to defend itself, rescue any hostages, and protect its citizens. Blinken's fast 180 was the second time the State Department backtracked on a statement calling for Israeli restraint. Thank you for the link, VDGMCP. Very important. All right. We also have, for the past 3 days, Daily Kos has featured only one article on Hamas invasion of Israel. The is relevant as one of Egberto's main sources of info comes from the Daily Kos. By the way, I'm also a contributing editor to the Daily Kos, so that's not true what you're saying, because my program, as I didn't get a chance to put it up today, but it's generally taken and covered at Daily Kos as well. So that's not true at all. Egberto, hey, it says, Egberto, you should keep in touch with Billy. Anyway, let's continue. Melanie Keelan, welcome to Politics and Right. In fact, don't forget, sign up for our Ask Egberto Anything this weekend. politicsandright.com/Ask Egberto. politicsandright.com/Ask Egberto. We're having it this week. Eric A says, so those that want to kill Westerners and Jews and others and professors should get away with it. Is that what Politics Done Right with Egberto Willies is saying? If that is what you're hearing, that is what you're choosing to hear. Completely. That's not what I'm saying at all, but that's what you'd like to do. Lee Grant says, when one people swear to eliminate another, where is the compromise? The compromise is, first of all, not all of one people are saying eliminate the other. That's not what it's all about. But we should actually look at it within the American context on what we did, right? We weren't looking for peaceful solutions when we were dealing with the indigenous folks. We weren't looking for peaceful, but we got over that, right? Eventually, we kind of got there, right? I remember at first when we came to this country, one of the things we wanted to do is get rid of the savages, because if we could call them savages, we could annihilate them. That is what the current media wants to do with the Palestinians. And when we have a very small percentage of Palestinians do a heinous crime like what has occurred in Israel, which is terrible, it's horrendous. Then we paste that on to all Palestinians as if all Palestinians would do that sort of stuff. We make sure that they look like animals, and then that justifies the treatment that you're going to see taken out on them. We dehumanize them, and then we get rid of them. That's what we've done with the indigenous people in America, right? We dehumanize them, then it's then okay to kill them. That's what we did with the slaves, right? We dehumanize them, and then it's okay to kill. It is a standard modus operandi. And one of the reasons you see people like myself have issues talking about this thing is that as you're talking about it, you don't get a chance to expand it fully. As soon as I say the Palestinians need XYZ, you are anti-Semitic. No, I'm not. One of my best friends, and I know that's when people say, "Oh, I have a black friend," people look at it like, "Oh yeah, I get it." No, but my thing is, I have best friends of every hue, of every culture, etc., and I don't talk in a vacuum. I talk from a position where there are many people I interact with, but it's so darn difficult, especially in these times. I have problems covering this subject solely because I want to make sure it is covered in a manner that makes people think critically. Michael Rudden says, Daniel Ado might actually consider this one from Daily Kos before he talks SHIT about that site, as they posted something like 24 articles about Israel-Palestine conflict from multiple perspectives, why Israel cannot de-escalate until Hamas is escalated. I mean, but not only that, I have an article out there as well. So, I mean, some folks just talk for the sake of talking and not realizing that other people are going to look, right? But anyway, I want to start today with a professor. I think she teaches at Rutgers, and she's a lawyer. And she was allowed, Katy Tur. I love Katy Tur. I am surprised that Katy Tur did not cut this interview short. Whether you agree or disagree is not the issue. What's the issue is understanding where she's coming from, because her perspective is not only represented by much of what has already occurred, but the perspective that many people have. So I want you to listen to this in the spirit in which she spoke, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Me now is Nora Erekat. She's a human rights attorney, Palestinian American activist, and associate professor at Rutgers University. Nora, the images that we've been seeing for the past 6 days, both inside of Gaza and the images of what happened to the Israeli citizens, both have been so gut-wrenching, so difficult to watch. It makes it feel like there is an intractability to this fight. As you've been studying this, what can happen next?
Thank you, Katie. These are indeed gut-wrenching images, but they are also preventable images and preventable mass atrocities. The condition that the largest crime and the condition that sustains this violence is the crime of apartheid and the apartheid system that Israel oversees and that the United States has been the primary supporter of in military, financial, and diplomatic support. This is not something that can be solved militarily. This requires a political and a diplomatic solution, one that so many of us have been working towards. And yet what we're seeing in this very moment is a fomenting for absolute indiscriminate war crimes against Palestinians. You had a representative of the Israeli state on before you who was given a platform to talk about these military operations, despite the fact that Israel has targeted the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, has targeted sheltering the Palestinians, has targeted electricity sources, has targeted access to clean water. And yet here he is on your program justifying these war crimes, whereas you would never, ever allow a Palestinian representative of state, let alone of Hamas, on your program to talk about their military operations and justify them on your program. We have to be clear. If we want to protect civilian life, we want to protect all civilian life. If we want to apply the laws of war, then we apply all the laws of war across the board without exception. And unfortunately, we are hearing a very racist, dehumanizing framework that is justifying these war crimes against Palestinians.
Can you justify what you've been seeing happen to the Israelis? Can you justify the images of the babies?
Who justifies that? Palestinians are the people who have been protesting non-violently for decades. The Palestinian struggle for freedom is 100 years old, as they have been protesting against the usurpation of their land and their forced displacement. Hamas wasn't established until 1987. Palestinians have been protesting against the siege for 16 years. In 2018, 40,000 Palestinians marched week in and week out while Israeli snipers shot to kill them, as the rest of the world didn't even interview them or ask them about their nonviolent resistance or the barbarism of Israel's response. These are the Palestinians. 34 U.S. states have made illegal boycott, divestment, and sanctions, which is the quintessential nonviolent tactic. And yet we are castigated as being against peace. Palestinians are leading a freedom movement and a future for everybody.
What do you do?
Yet let me ask you, Nora. You turn attention to Palestinians is in moments of these horrific mass atrocities where we're put in a position to have to discuss the violence against Israelis that are abhorrent. But there is violence against Palestinian dailies, even when you can't see it in this sensational war.
So what do you do about Hamas? Is Hamas a government that is functional and should remain in Gaza? Do you think that there's a coexistence between the Israelis and the Palestinians with Hamas?
I absolutely believe in coexistence. There is only one future. We either all survive together in mutual existence, or we all die together in this mutual destruction. There is no way forward. We have all got to exist together. What is the U.S. and Israeli plan right now? What do they plan on doing? Invading all of Gaza and decimating it? How do you get rid of a fight for freedom? This is a freedom struggle. It's not just encapsulated in one political party like Hamas. It is encapsulated across the Palestinian diaspora, across all Palestinian political parties. You cannot extinguish a struggle for freedom. The demand is an end of the occupation for 56 years now, a demand of lifting of the siege 16 years now, and a demand of the end of 75 years years of settler colonial removal and replacement. There is a political solution. Human rights organizations have mapped out a human rights path, which includes sanctions on Israel because of its apartheid policies, weapons sanctions that they cannot be using indiscriminately against Palestinians. There is a political pathway forward. We have been urging all to follow it. We have to allow for spaces of hope with dignity for all people. This cannot be ended militarily.
There are many people in Israel. There are many people in the Palestinian territories, West Bank and Gaza, who are all for that, who want that. And we've talked about the current Israeli makeup of the government and the inability of forging a path forward with Palestinians. We've done extensive reporting on that on this show for the past week. But I have to ask you again,
Wonderful.
What about Hamas? What do you do with Hamas?
Hamas was established in 1987 in the midst of what's known as the first Palestinian Intifada. They were established as an opposition to the Palestinian, to Fatah, and wanted to wage a liberation struggle. From the moment that the Oslo peace process was established, Israel began to besiege the Palestinians in Gaza by creating a perimeter around them. Hamas is a political party. We see them making political decisions as well. They've been portrayed as fanatical terrorists who are out there for primordial lust and violence and hate. And yet Hamas is a political party that has switched its allegiances. We saw them become a governing party and not just a resistance movement following the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. We saw them leaving Syria and moving to Qatar in the midst of the Syrian uprising. They are eligible to be part of a Palestinian unity government, which Israel and the United States have thwarted. We have to recognize that
you think
they
Hamas
are not
can stay
disappear
with others in a unity government? You think Hamas can stay?
Whether or not they can or cannot stay is not the issue, because the alternative of what you're saying is that we decimate Hamas. And I have to remind viewers, Hamas is a political movement comprised of Palestinians who believe in a freedom struggle forward. They are not merely these sensational images that you see. The members of Hamas that you saw recently, right? I just want to make clear to people that these are not monsters who emerged from underground just wanting to terrorize Israelis. These are young men who have only grown up under siege for the past 17 years, who have been subject to 4 large-scale offensives that have bombed them in their homes, that have targeted medics and hospitals and water supplies, that have refused them a future and told them that the only future they have is to remain in an open-air prison. We have denied them of hope. So when you say Hamas, we are actually talking about an entire generation of Palestinians who have been left and abandoned by the international community. I want us to shift away from focusing on a political party and remind people that this is about a Palestinian struggle for freedom. It far exceeds Hamas. It is not about Hamas. It is not about Gaza. It is about all of Palestine and all of Israel, and about a future for everybody.
I think for those who don't understand that part that she's talking about Hamas, etc., what many times propaganda, the way propaganda works is the following. Let's take it outside of Palestine and Israel altogether. But the way propaganda works is as follows. If I want to make sure that you don't exist or you don't win what you're attempting to do, I find everybody in you that can be identified with you that's doing bad things, and sometimes I even create bad things that I claim are done by people from your sect, if you will. And I make your entire group of people into that. And that allows others to see all people of your sect as evil, and then dehumanizing you, destroying you becomes acceptable. I mean, why can I talk about it in these terms? Because as a person of color, as a Black Caribbean Latino guy, We've seen that happen. We've seen some of the conservatives in this chat room use that same method because it's a standard method that's taught. And many that are doing it don't even realize that they're doing it. The example is the criminalizing of the black man, the criminalizing of the Latino man. Okay, in other words, you see crime, you see black men. You see crime, you see Latino. And when you make that association, going forward, society in the aggregate can always then justify any bad thing that happens to that person. That's why police officers now can gun down an innocent person, an innocent black man, an innocent kid with a plastic gun. That's why they can do it without the risk, knowing that society in the aggregate is going to look at them and say, well, that person, because of who they are, must have done something bad. You have to be able to empathize with that reality. That is what we've done to many cases with Arabs in general, with Palestinians in particular. We have the terrorists that are a Muslim, right? And at that point, now whenever we see Muslim, we associate it with terrorism. But what is interesting is when you hear somebody say that most of the terrorism in the world are done by many people that you least expect. Was it terrorism when how many Panamanians died? I keep using that as an example. How many Panamanians died when we came and got Manuel Antonio Noriega on false premises? I mean, how many, when is that called not a military action, but terrorism, when in fact, Noriega was arrested on false premises and several thousand Panamanians paid the price for it? What about the Palestinians that are dying? For a while, the numbers were a whole lot of our Jewish brothers and sisters got killed by those terrorists, and Palestinians was just a few, right? Because again, it was a few terrorists that got killed. But the numbers come right back into form. The amount of dead Palestinians now has zoomed up to go past the amount of dead Jewish people in Israel, etc. It's not about condoning anything. It's about just asking to look at things from a human point of view. Before I get to the next video, let me start reading some of these things. From Bridge MCP says, what preceded the killings in Israel and Gaza was not peace. It was apartheid, Israel's plan to treat Palestinians in Gaza as human animals and starve them reflects the conditions of apartheid. Amid so much devastation, we are reminded that some losses are weighted more heavily than others in the popular imagination and in geopolitical context. As Palestinians poet Remy Kanassi recently stated on social media, what Israelis experienced for a few hours, Palestinians have been enduring for 75 years. I made a statement of that sort in a blog that I wrote, and somebody that I'm supposed to trust, and somebody that I really thought was understood how to look at things objectively, looked at me and said, Egberto, you sound like an anti-Semite. And I was taken aback because I hate nobody, right? I don't like politicians that do us wrong, but I hate nobody. Anti-Semite? That I saw it as crazy that somebody would think that I am somehow an anti-Semite for saying I believe in humanity. Are you kidding me? Bridge MCP says, Lee Grant, they both want to, but this country, and let me put that thing back on because the real enemy is hate. Bridge, I really love that one with the Muslim kid and the Jewish kid hugging each other, because that's where we need to go. But the only way we get there is if we don't allow criminals like Netanyahu, the biggest terrorist I see in the entire Middle East, in my humble opinion. The biggest terrorist, in my humble opinion, is a guy named Bibi Netanyahu. I see him as a criminal. I see him as a crook. I see him as a terrorist. And I see him as and look, he's not even really a Semite, right? So that's what I see. It is so important. It is so important for us to see the truth, All right, let's see. Michael says, pardon, but there's no separation between the Hamas terrorists and the Hamas politicians. It's the same group. The separation we need to distinguish is Hamas and civilian Palestinians. Yes, I agree with that. But I also agree that it's important that you don't come out in favor of Hamas or defend Hamas or anything like that. But at the same time, I think it's imperative that you understand what created the possibility that people like Hamas could exist. I mean, I don't know if you listen to my morning show. I always talk about, let's understand why you could have people that do cruel things. When people talk about slavery and what the people, the masters and the people who work for the masters did to their slaves, castrating them, cutting them, slapping them, slicing them alive, cutting their pelotas off, maiming them, right? These were violent acts. And then that as certain things happen and you get that same behavior out of some black men who went through that. People ask, where did that violence come from? You see cops blow away some people and then you wonder, where did the violence come from? The violence was taught. When we start to understand that there's always going to be blowback, there's a push, always. And innocent people pay the price. Those innocent Israelis that were murdered, that were gunned down, they paid the price. If you want, look, the Hamas terrorists killed those Israelis. But you know who was pulling the strings? Bibi Netanyahu. All right? Bibi Netanyahu was pulling those strings. Bibi Netanyahu oppressed so badly that it made, look, think about this. If we had allowed these things as two-state solutions, a fair two-state solutions, not a two-state solution that put a whole bunch of settlements in between so that later on you can actually take over the entire piece of land. That's not how it's done. But you have to be honest about these things. You have to not be fearful that somebody is going to unjustifiably look at you and say, if you talk like that, you're an anti-Semite. I know who the hell I am. I love everybody. And my Jewish brothers and sisters know that for a fact. Not the ones that are out there with their ulterior motives, but the real ones know what I'm talking about. All right, Yvette Avery Harris says she broke it all the way down. That should be played everywhere. After I cut it, I sat down saying, should I play this? Should I not play this? Because if you notice the last part that she had to say about Hamas, I thought about cutting that part up, but I said that wouldn't be fair. I needed everybody to hear exactly everything that she had to say. And I knew that I did the right thing after I got the comment from Rudnin, which needed further explanation when he talks about Hamas. Mike Cisak says it's odd that Egypt is right there and a Muslim country, and these people could not just walk across, but can't. Egypt doesn't want these people either. Wow, these people. You see how you talk about them? See what that is how the dehumanization is represented. Think about that. That is what dehumanization sounds like. I'm not even going to justify that with an answer there. Bree says, Mike C, they are not allowed to leave without a pass that never comes. Let's say Daniel Ledo says, Yvette Avery Herod, yes, please. She really took off the mask. It should be shared wider so everyone can see the face of evil. Wow. No one in Arabia wants to take these people. You see, that's what dehumanization looks like. These people. I saw a lot of these young kids in the hospitals without electricity with half their face blown off. That's what happens when you can characterize folks as these people. A Boogeyman says the problem is both sides are good and bad. Exactly, Boogie Person. If you are looking for a good guy in this conflict or a bad guy, you won't find it without oversimplification. You nailed it. A Boogeyman Person, you nailed it. That is correct. But he says you see Israel and you see Arabs, aka Muslims. Tom C says I hate war as only a soldier who has lived it can, only as one who has seen its brutality. Oh, that's another limerick. Let's see. I hate war as only a soldier who has lived it can, only as one who has seen its brutality, its futility, its stupidity. Dwight Eisenhower. Oh, that's what Dwight Eisenhower said. I didn't know that. I thought you were about to write another limerick, Tom. Bridge says, perhaps, Mike, you should ask why. Israeli will not allow them, period. Tom C., I object to violence because when it appears to do good, the good is only temporary. The evil it does is permanent. Perfecto, hermano. Exactly. But he says, yes, Eric, plenty have been there. Look, Michael says, Egberto, you just described media malpractice when news shows instances of minorities doing crimes, ties minorities to criminality in the minds of those who see one instance after the next, not realizing these are statistical oddities and that crime rates in the U.S. are going down. See why I love my peeps? Now, do you see why I love my audience? Because I have a critically thinking audience. That's what I'm talking about, folks. And that's why you come here, for critical thought. Unfortunately, some people are going to terrorize what I just said and not really listen to it in the context in which it is saying. But that's the risk you have to take for being honest. Mike Cisak says, Bridge MCP, I'm asking why Egypt won't let the people into the Gaza Strip. She explained that. Bridge, I do not condone what Hamas has done or what Israel has done. Thank you for really being complete with that answer, Bridge. Bridge also said, Mike C., Israel will not allow them. That's why. Daniel Ado says, we associate terrorism with Islam for good reason. Since the 70s, Muslims have been quite busy being terrorists, so much so, just like soda, everyone just calls it Coke. They have successfully claimed the brand. All right, let's get real. What is terrorism and what is the outcome of terrorism? Terrorism's outcome is dead people, right? Let's look at who has created the most dead people in the last 100 years. Do your homework and then get back with me and then tell me who the terrorists really are. Okay? I really want you to do that exercise. I'm not even going to answer the question. I say, go get the cumulative deaths of people who are the ones dying. And then please tell me who is the largest perpetrator of terrorism. And I start with what occurred with Manuel Antonio Noriega. Noriega, if America wanted Noriega, they could have sent a commando. If they thought they could legally take Noriega under international law, they could have sent a commando into Panama, got Noriega, got him out of there, because guess what? The canal zone is right next door. They could get Noriega and they could have flown out of Fort Albrook. Fort Albrook is an American base in Panama. You see, we know these things. Many Americans like Daniel Ledo, etc., don't know it because, again, one of the modus operandi in the United States is to keep our population fairly ignorant. And that's what we do. All right. Bruce says, I'm here. Welcome aboard, Bruce. Let's see what else we got here. Daniel Ledo says, yeah, Hamas did a lot recently to foster love with Jewish neighbors. Oh, my God. Egberto, you see people who want freedom and peace as the greatest terrorists. Really? Who wants freedom and peace that I see as terrorists? Please tell me. Please tell me let me tell you, I distinguish between American policy, the American government, we the people, and the American people. All right? I distinguish that. The American government portions that are governed by the plutocracy, the corporatocracy, there's no freedom loving in that particular sect at all. The sole purpose is to dominate where we get the natural resources that we can take. When you learn that, when you learn what your private sector corporations are doing in your name, just maybe you'll think about what you just said. Daniel Ledo, or rather, Michael said, Daniel Ledo, in the last 10 years, most domestic terrorism in the United States came from far-right extremists, not from Islamics. ADL, right-wing extremists, were linked to at least 26 extremist-related murders in the United States in 2021 and has been responsible for 75% of such murders in the last 10 years, according to new data from the Anti-Defamation League. You know, again, unfortunately, that requires critical thinking and doing a little bit of reading. But what can we say? All right. Michael Rodney says, Egberto, please read this ADL comment out. Not sure anyone can copy and paste it. I just read it out. Bridge MCP says, no Palestinians can't just leave Gaza. Despite the ferocity of Israel retaliation, they have nowhere to go. Why don't they just leave? As Israel's furious retaliation for last weekend's Hamas attack devastate large swaths of the Gaza Strip, killing hundreds and maiming thousands of Palestinians, it is not unreasonable to wonder why the 2.3 million civilians living in the tiny enclave don't flee to safer ground. The question will require greater urgency in the days ahead, given the high likelihood of a ground invasion by the Israeli Defense Forces, which will mean days, weeks, and even months of grueling street-by-street, house-by-house battles. The short answer to that question is they can't. Before I explain why, consider the lay of the land and the situation in which Gazans find themselves right now. At 139 square miles, and remember, 139 square miles is just like a 13 by 13 space, right? The Gaza Strip is approximately the size of Philadelphia, with a third more people. There is very little open space within the enclave where 2 million people can hunker down and wait for the fighting to end. The siege imposed by Israel is designed, in the words of Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, to leave Gaza with no electricity, no food, no gas. It is all closed. What is anybody thinking about the babies in Gaza? The teenagers in Gaza? The bloody feeling. Look, we already have we care about Israel. There's no doubt about it. Israel has all our support, not only our support in our tax dollars, but in the military. They got all our support. And all of this seems to be going against one group of people, harming one group of people. Okay? Those are the statements of facts. You can say they're doing it because of the 1,400 Israelis that got killed. I hate that they did that. I hate those who did that. Those are criminals. Those are thugs. Those are terrorists. But Netanyahu, over the last several decades, have killed how many? By indiscriminately bombing. They claim, we dropped some duds first to let people not get out of there. We're going to bomb that. Get out of where? You can't leave. And when you're bombing, it is a farce, and as I keep watching the mainstream media, all I feel is hurt. Because I understand that much of the thinking of Americans are dictated by what the mainstream media is saying, and in doing so, it hardens the heart of many against a people that. Anyway, Lee Grant says people of the Middle East used to cut a lot of African slave pelotas. Your point being, and by the way, the Middle East is African, right? In fact, I think it's on the African continent. All right. All right, Egberto, the two-state solution can't happen anymore because of stolen lands. Egberto, did you get a chance to watch the minute-long video I spent on Facebook? Of course I watched it. It is something we talk about all the time. My daughter, who isn't very politically active, mentioned that when she saw a lot of what was going on. Okay. Egberto, let's see what else we got here. Bruce says, I don't like condoning killing as long as it follows the rules of war. I don't like condoning killing at all. Can we count Mother Nature as a terrorist? Not really. Michael Redden says, Egberto, thank you for reading out that ADL post earlier. Eric, wait, wasn't Ladish you showed a lawyer, a Palestinian, so she got to leave? No, she lives in the United States. Lee Grant, Bruce Pollard, we can't, but it sounds like a bad idea. All right, let's see what else we got here. Michael Ronan says, Eric Hayes, New York Times. Officials said 27 U.S. citizens were killed in the attack and 14 remain unaccounted for. It was unclear how many were being held hostage. All right, I want to show you something here, and this has to do with the news media. I think this slipped out of Brother Al Sharpton's mouth, because what he showed is that those who have access to media can control how media represents stories. I was shocked, however, to see that Katy Tur, and she's been doing a good job for a long time, Katy Tur played the whole Palestinian lawyer statement. And likewise, I'm very impressed with what Ali Velshi, Mehdi Hassan, and Ayman Mohyaddin can get across in telling the truth. I'm very, very impressed with what they're able to do on MSNBC. I don't see it anywhere else. But check this piece out with Al Sharpton, because I think he slipped up a bit. What you think? Let me play it, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Murderers, the government of the United States and everybody else needs to do what they can, because we're talking about people that have no cause of human life. They're not trying to get a two-state solution or any solution. They're trying to wipe people out, and we can't let it happen.
They don't want a two-state solution. They want a final solution.
And the final solution is killing people. And I'm glad that Jonathan came out talking about the language. And I know you had very positive conversations with people here at the top of the network, because as we are objective in how we cover sides, we've got to tell the people who the sides are. And not mislabel people. And I think that the leadership here understood that in your conversation.
And listen to Barry. This is not right or wrong. This is not some academic debate. This is good versus evil. It is evil that makes one think that it is okay to burn an elderly woman alive in her home and record it. It is evil that lets someone think to execute children in front of their parents and then drag those people into Gaza as hostages. And it is evil to blame Israel for, again, the mutilation and desecration of her citizens. That's what's happening in places right here. And these people will have to reckon for the rest of their lives. But if you are a CEO and you spoke out on these other issues, if you are a university president and you spoke out on these other issues, if you are a politician or a candidate who spoke on these other issues, we are waiting and watching for you to speak out now.
I don't know if you understood what I was trying to get out of here. So let me explain. Did you hear what Al said? He looked at the guy and he said, I know you had positive conversations with the higher ups at NBC about this, and I know you're happy with the conversations that you had. That was scary, because he has access. That Palestinian lawyer, you notice how she started our conversation? You gave him the ability to say these things. I wish you would give more of us the ability to tell our story. And what Al Sharpton did there is he pointed out and he made it clear that some people have access to how the news is going to be told. And if you notice right now, the big propaganda machine is on. Look, I don't know how much I can tell folks how I feel. I have a daughter, I got a wife, I got a mother, I got an aunt, all these people that Hamas murdered, that Hamas annihilated, those were terrorist acts. Those were bad things that they did. Yes, it was. But, and it's a very important but, that they don't want to have a but. If you want to solve problems, you have to allow what allows these things to happen. What allows Palestinians in Gaza to hide terrorists that are doing certain things or to protect them. Why do they do that? I look at it sort of similar to how MAGA goes on to Trump, a person that has no good thing for them, has no policies to help them. In fact, hurts them, uses them for their ulterior goal. I look at the relationship between MAGA and Trump as a similar relationship between some Palestinians and Hamas. That's the strong man you're putting your hopes on because you feel like you otherwise have no hopes. In the case of the Palestinians, how many people come to their defense? How many people are brave enough to say, you have been wronged as well? How many people are willing to do that? How many? Again, because of the fear of what folks are going to say about you. It is sad. It is horrendously sad. And the problem is going to continue until we really get to the root of these problems and solve them. Until we get to the root of the problems and solve them, they will always continue and remain. And that's why they have continued. Because the root cause, welcome Paul Fleming, the root cause of the problem has never been addressed. Because we have always given preferential treatments to certain countries. I mean, it's funny. We supported people like Somoza in El Salvador, and these different people in Nicaragua, and all of them dictators. Even the Filipino guy. But then we talk about democracy. I wish more people would do critical thinking. Because if we did more critical thinking, these problems would be solved. But we don't want to do critical thinking because there is money. There is a lot of people make money on this chaos. So many people make money on this chaos. And, when you have somebody make a silly statement like CSAC, the root of the problems we have is due to leftist policies. Oh, my God. So immaterially childish, my brother. Love you, but that's materially childish. But he says, Egberto Willis, even in Ireland, the South was gained freedom in a ridiculous way. Didn't understand the North 50 years later because it didn't affect them anymore. Sad, but true. Sad, but true. Sad, but true. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and close this up because it's that time. Let's go ahead. Let's see. Michael runs. Egberto, speaking of money and foreign aid, Israel and Ukraine need two entirely different sets of equipment. Israel needs a small amount of high-end gear. Ukraine needs a large supply of 20-year-old equipment. Despite any Republican objections kissing Putin's ring, we can do both. Yes, we can. We can do both. Anyway, folks, we got to get out of here. Before I go, though, I'd like to ask you to please support the program. We cannot do this without you. And please let other folks know about what we do here. All we do is tell the truth. Nothing more, nothing less. You can support the program in one of many forms. Go to politicsdoneright.com/support, politicsdoneright.com/support. And I'm about to get to that link right now. politicsdoneright.com/support is how you support our program. You can also support our program by subscribing to our newsletter. And I ask you so kindly to do so. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. You can become if you become a paid member of the newsletter, you also get a chance to read all of my books. I currently have 5. All of them will be on there. 2 of them are currently there, but all of them will be there. And any subsequent books that I write will be there for you to read as well. Please support the program. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And politicsdoneright.com/support is a way you can find all the methods of support. Yes, Eric Hayes, there will be an Ask Egberto this weekend. We skipped last weekend because I had to do a program for the Houston Peace and Justice Center. We had our nonprofit mixer. So we postponed it to this week. So there will be, the link is at politicsdoneright.com/ask Egberto. Thank you for asking that, my brother. Here is the link, and that'll set you up. politicsdoneright.com/ask Egberto. politicsdoneright.com/ask Egberto. Again, please support the program. We cannot do it without you. I'm going to put the newsletter up there one more time. I tell you what, anybody listen to me right now, please subscribe. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's really worth it. And you get one every morning at 5 in the morning. Every morning at 5, we tell you what the next program show is going to be about. And also we give you links to blogs that we've written over that time. Got to get out of here. My name is Egg. First of all, thank you all for listening. And for those of you, I want to give an errata before I go. Many would want you to believe that supporting Palestine means you're not supporting Israel. I'm not going to fall for that. I won't have this discussion at KPFT because I refuse to have this conversation at KPFT. But I will have this conversation here, however, in the spirit of education, unity, and humanity. I needed to say that. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.